Hello again, everyone. So welcome to day 2 of the Ubiquity Dev Summit. Before we begin, I'd like to speak a little bit about building across devices. Now, some of you have heard this before. If you have, please forgive me. For those of you that are new to it, it's just a simple outline of why and how to think about building across devices. You see, ubiquitous computing is just a fancy phrase for technology that's accessible to the user whenever and wherever they want, right? We talked a lot about that on day 1. Well, here's just a little bit more detail. Imagine your users wherever they might be, right? They might be having some friends over, watching cat videos and playing video games in the living room. They're outside going for a bike ride, or maybe it's time for a road trip. You're going to want to make sure that in any of these situations, that your users can access your service. You don't want this, where it's like, which device do I go to? Instead, you want it available on any device that they might have at hand. Now, this is what we mean by ubiquitous computing. And these devices, the number of them is staggering. So you as a developer thinking about all the places your users can go to for your service, that's a pretty large number. In fact, this study by Intel says 200 billion in 2020, or as Gayatri put it the other day, 26 connected devices for every person on the planet. Now, not all of these are in their pocket, right? Some of these are spread across the world, but a handful of these are associated with your users, and that's a ton of smart devices in the world. And another number that you really should keep in mind, especially if you're a startup, is that half of the solutions for IoT are going to be from startups less than 3 years old. Half. which is a really big number. So the question really is, have you started building for this reality already? And the good news is that it's not as hard as it might seem, right? What I'd like to leave you with is this idea of building across these devices as a holistic approach for your app and your service, right? You can think less about having, say, a single service for each device. Here's an example of that architecture. Now, the traditional approach is for different devices to make an app for each device as these devices become available to the users. And this is kind of crazy. It's typically meant a new project for each device, developed and supported independently, a new engineering team in your company often. Now, the ironic thing is that most of us already think about this whole experience as one experience, right? So building it as separate apps, separate projects, separate products is just the wrong way to go about it. What you want to think about it is having a single app, and each of these devices is a view into that service. And again, this is really what we think about when we think about ubiquitous computing. This is the model, right? Is your service wherever the user might want or need it, and then also reducing this equation so you don't have to think so much about the technical implementation or the glue in between these apps, but you're just thinking about what's the right thing on each form factor for the user in that context. And that's how we're trying to build our platforms, so that you can go from one device to the other by just extending it with a few additional APIs. And we're going to talk about those today. We're going to talk first about the living room with Rishi Chandra, Vice President of Product Management for Google Cast and Android TV. Rishi?
Thank you. Good morning. So today I'm going to talk to you about the living room. But actually, it's going to be a little bit more than that. The living room is just one room of where consumers consume entertainment. Right? Ultimately, it's about the home and home entertainment. That's really how we're looking at this opportunity. And the opportunity is pretty immense. It's estimated that 50% of all audio is actually consumed in the home. And if you look at TV consumption, you would think it's going down, but it hasn't. It's still more than 4 hours a day per household in the US and more than 3 hours a day globally. So there's an immense opportunity to reach consumers where they are actually spending their time and consuming entertainment and applications and experiences. So today what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about how Google sees the living room opportunity, or particularly the home entertainment opportunity. And we'll start with a couple of trends that we see, and then how we're looking at building platforms so that developers can take advantage of this immense opportunity in people's homes. So let me start with the first opportunity, or the first trend we see, which actually seems obvious now, but wasn't that obvious just 18 months ago, which is the content world is transitioning to an online distribution world. And this is really, really important, because historically, the content that you had access to in the home was actually very siloed and very limited. You had limited choice, and now you're moving to unlimited choice. You had a generic set of content, and now you have personalized content. And before, you could only view it on a single specific device in one room in your house. And now you can view it anywhere across any device. It's a major transformation that's happening, and it's particularly impacting the home. So the content industry is leading the way, driven by consumers who are demanding this access. But what hasn't yet caught up are the devices that you actually consume this in your home, the speakers and your televisions. And so there's a really big opportunity of how we can rethink the experience of these devices, bringing applications, bringing new services that never were there before, and opening up an opportunity so that you can actually innovate where you could never innovate before. There's a really interesting time, and now is the right time. I mean, just last year, the new services that are being launched with an over-the-top way opens up a lot of new engagement and opportunities within the home. And so I think this is the perfect time to be looking at the living room as an immense opportunity that you can take advantage of. The second trend is a little more subtle, which is that we're shifting from how you actually interact with your home entertainment devices. Historically, it's been through the directional pattern, which was invented 40, 50 years ago. And it's really simple, but it's also very limiting. And what we're finding is that this shift is happening today, where the mobile device is becoming increasingly the center of your digital life, where it has much more powerful processing power. It has a lot more capabilities with the touchscreen. It's more personalized. It's where you're already organizing your life. So whether you're at home or at work or in the car, consumers want to have the same experience, regardless when they're coming home. And so we're seeing that the mobile phone is becoming a really increasing part of that center of your digital life, and the reality of how you're going to start interacting with all these different devices in the home today. So it gives a new opportunity. We need to rethink, how does the mobile phone play into these entertainment experiences, and how does it play with all your different devices? Now, not everyone's going to make this shift right away. Some consumers have already made the shift. Some are obviously still recognizing that they prefer the traditional remote control. But we do see a shift happening. So those two insights really drove the product definition for the first product we launched called Chromecast in July 2013. It was optimized for this world. It's the first mobile-first online distribution-based product where we can deliver an amazing user experience around that use case. And we're really happy with it. We started with 4 apps when we launched Chromecast, and now we have thousands of apps. We have over 20 million devices sold in a little over 2 years of the product being launched. And we have over 3 billion presses of the Cast button. Those are each opportunities of engagement that a consumer has had with a content app on the big screen. So we've seen a lot of momentum there. And it's really based off this simple idea of how do we bring a mobile-first experience to the living room. In September, we actually updated, we refreshed the product by improving the Chromecast with better Wi-Fi capability and better speed. But we also launched another version of the Chromecast, Chromecast Audio. So similar to how Chromecast takes your existing smart TVs, or existing TVs and makes them smart, Chromecast Audio can take your existing speakers and make them smart as well. And we're really excited about the momentum we're seeing both on Chromecast and Chromecast Audio. But obviously, the opportunity in the living room is much bigger than just a single point product. Our ultimate goal with the platforms that we're creating is to help developers connect all their amazing content with all the different devices that a consumer can have in their home today. So we started with streaming devices with Chromecast and Chromecast Audio, but ultimately we want to be embedded in televisions, in every speaker in your home, and even your set-top boxes that you may get from your operator, your TV operator. Right, there's many devices. If we want to touch the 1 billion households that have home entertainment devices, we need to think bigger. And that's why Google has 2 great platforms for how we're approaching the living room. And there's a reason why we have 2. We started with Google Cast, which is the technology that powers Chromecast. And that's really based off this mobile-centric world. Make it incredibly easy to take your existing iOS app, your existing Android app, or existing web page, web app and extend it to all these different devices. But like I mentioned before, we recognize there are a set of consumers out there who haven't yet got mobile first. And they still want to have all the great capabilities that a rich platform can enable. And that's really why we launched Android TV in 2014. It takes the Android operating system, embeds it into a whole host of different devices, and now you can take your mobile Android app and bridge it and extend it to the television as well. So consumers can have a traditional experience with a remote control, but also run great, powerful native applications. And we're going to continue to invest in both these platforms to make them really the de facto way that you can engage all the different devices that you'd see in a home today. But of course, Google's approach is always about ecosystems. So we also don't think of this as just a point product that Google's going to build. We're really happy with the success of Chromecast. It's built by Google, designed by Google, marketed and distributed by Google. But ultimately, we're not going to touch 1 billion different households with one product from Google or 2 products from Google. We have to think bigger in terms of an ecosystem. And so it's really important for us to build partnerships with the OEM community. And this is really what made Android really successful. This is what got us to the 1 billion different mobile devices. And so we've been spending a lot of time as part of the living room strategy to really think about how do we engage with OEMs and device manufacturers in a really compelling and deep way. And we've seen a lot of success over the last 18 months. So on smart TVs, we want to make sure that if you ever buy a new TV, that you have Google technology built into it, whether it be Android TV, which also then includes Google Cast. So we launched last year Android TV with Sony. They announced last CES and had a great year selling televisions. And just this past week, I was at CES, and they talked about all the new sets of devices they have built on Android TV. Really compelling, great story. There's a whole host of new TV manufacturers that we're embedding in as well that you'll see over the next few months. In the speaker market, we want to make sure that any speaker you have, that you buy, will have Google Cast built into it. So we partnered last year with Sony and LG, and they launched a whole bunch of soundbars, AVRs, wireless speakers with Google Cast technology built in. And now we've announced last week a whole host of new OEMs as well. Ultimately, you'll see these products over the next, again, 6 months, but we're really excited to see the momentum around really Google Cast as being a de facto way that you can bring great services and applications to these speaker devices. And then obviously, the last category is pay TV set-top boxes. Every operator you get, these are the operator boxes you get when you sign up for TV service. They'll actually bring you a device in your home that you can use to connect to your linear TV service. Every one of these operators today is looking at these changing environment of what's happening in the industry and looking at refreshing their devices. So how can they bring compelling sets of applications on top of their TV service they have today? And so we've been partnering with a whole host of them so that as consumers are getting upgraded to new devices and boxes in their home, they're automatically getting a platform that is rich and compelling based off Android TV and having Google Cast built into it as well. We think we have the only strategy which includes both point products built by Google, but also a really wide set of partnerships with OEMs to really build a scalable model so developers like you can actually build awesome experiences on top of a wide range of devices. It's the only way we're going to get scale to make it really impactful to consumers. So now let's talk about the technologies themselves. So we start with the Google Cast SDK. This is a development kit that allows you to take, again, your existing Android, iOS, or web app and extend it to the TV. It's a really simple model. You embed it in the existing app you're already in, that you already own, and all you do is enable the Cast button, and now you can actually extend it to another device. The power for this is for consumers. They don't have to learn anything new. If they already use Spotify, for example, in their daily lives, then all they're going to see now is a button to now use Spotify to extend it to their speakers or TVs, or Netflix or YouTube, what have you. It's a really simple development model. And from a developer standpoint, all you need to do is embed the Cast SDK and have some way to actually render the content, which we'll take care of for you. So it's really simple, easy development model and allows any app developer, any media-based app developer to extend their content in a really easy and simple way. Now we're continuing to innovate on the SDK. Last year, in conjunction with the Chromecast audio launch, we launched audio support. So you can have an audio-only mode for your content so it can work on devices like speakers. And what was really exciting, we launched multi-room support last December. This allows you to synchronize your audio across multiple different rooms in the home, any device that has a Chromecast audio in it. It works really well. If you haven't tried it out, please try it out. It's amazing value for a product that's only $35. And we're going to be, just like I mentioned before on the ecosystem, we're going to be extending that capability to the ecosystem as well. So whether you get a Sony AVR and you want to pair it with a JBL speaker, you can do that using the Cast SDK to actually have synchronous audio across multiple rooms. And again, we'll do that on the behalf of the developer. So it makes it really simple and easy to make really compelling killer use cases. Now, the other area we've been looking at is really about how do we think about multi-screen experiences. The amazing thing about having the phone connected to these home entertainment devices is it's not just a one-way transaction. It doesn't have to be, hey, I'm listening to content here, I want to send it to another device. But you can actually have the devices work together. So how do we make that a compelling experience? How do we unlock that capability for developers? Well, last I/O, we launched a capability called the Remote Display APIs. And we focus it initially on gaming, because we believe that has a really compelling use case. And the idea here is, can we take advantage of the most powerful computing device that most people have in their homes today, which turns out to be their mobile device? So what we do is we take advantage of the GPU and CPU, and the phone itself will render two screens. One screen plays locally, and one screen goes to the Chromecast or the Android TV device. And now you have two screens. You can do two different UIs. You can have a consumption UI on the big screen and a interactive UI on the phone. So now you can think of multi-screen experiences, right? This breaks through in terms of how you can think about how you actually build an application itself. And so we launched this we launched the APIs in last I/O, and we have a whole bunch of game companies actually launched over the last few months, including Angry Birds Go and WGT Golf, and we're seeing a lot more coming. But the great thing is this capability doesn't only have to work with games. If you remember, we actually launched Google Photos support for Google Cast as well, and actually that uses these APIs. The Photos app just uses the big screen to render the highest quality image that you can, and then it has all the navigation on the phone. So you can have this two-tiered experience. It's a really simple development model for developers, and so we're super excited to see what developers can do with it now to start thinking about a multi-screen experience as they look about entertainment in the home. So that's Google Cast. Now let's talk about Android TV. So every Android TV device, first of all, includes Google Cast in it. So that's part of the actual part of the platform itself. But the idea of Android TV was, again, to take this rich operating system we have with Android and extend it to many devices, including televisions. And so we believe Android's the de facto one. It should be de facto one, given the presence around all the different devices in consumers' lives today. And the great thing is, it's the same Android platform that you have on your other devices, which means for developers, the same SDK. You can take your existing mobile app and actually bring it directly to now television devices. And the great thing is with small modifications, you can then optimize for different screens, right? So if you want to build for phone, you want to build for tablet, you can build for TV. With some small changes, you can actually optimize automatically for all the different screens in users' lives. And the other great thing is just use the exact same Play Store mechanism. So all your merchandising and all your billing and payments automatically come with you. It's a really simple model. We really thought through how to make this really incredibly easy for developers to bring their applications direct to the TV. Now, of course, with Android TV, we need to rethink the user experience a little bit in terms of how do we make it TV-centric. So this is the home screen of an Android TV device. And you'll see a couple of things. One is that it's content-centric versus purely being app-centric. Right? We want to bring content to the foreground. So we have this recommendation shelf. This is actually just a Android TV API that any developer can plug into to actually showcase, here's content I want to recommend to a consumer. So there's paradigms we developed to make it really simple and easy for a developer to integrate, but also make it more of a consumer experience optimized for the television. And we also have universal search built as part of this product as well. And the great thing is, from a developer standpoint, we've tried to really make it simple to take existing apps and then optimize it for the TV. We don't want to have to make you rewrite everything to make it work. And so we have some simple paradigms. This is from the Leanback library, and we have things called fragments, where you can just publish your content into a fragment, and we'll render it in a really high-quality, beautiful way on the TV screen. This is called the browse fragment. So encourage everyone to take a look. It's really simple to actually bring your app, depending on how much you want to actually optimize it, but we can give you some paradigms to make it really simple and easy to do it. And lastly, a different approach to gaming is obviously using a remote control. And so Android TV tries to bring all the gaming paradigms that we have in Android and also brings them to television. So now you can run a game which has a traditional remote control directly on the big screen. And again, using similar paradigms I just talked about with Android TV, or Android in general. So that's a quick summary of our the living room strategy from Google. We're looking at two great platforms that allow us to actually bring experiences to consumers. A mobile-first approach, which is about extending your existing mobile app, and an Android TV approach, a TV-centric approach where you can take your app and optimize it for the big screen. We're super excited to see what you guys will do next. Okay, with that, I'll hand it back to Timothy. Thank you.
Thank you, Rishi. All right, let's continue our conversation with the senior UX designer on Android Wear, Krystal Higgins.
Thanks, Timothy, and hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the second day of Ubiquity. I am personally very excited to be here because I have been working on Android Wear and Android Wear watches since the day I joined Google, because I personally believe that wearables are the most versatile and the most personal connected objects we can have the pleasure designing for. And in a few moments, I'm going to share with you some of the new ways that we have enabled you to build great wearable experiences for Android Wear. But first, I want to add just a layer of context around what we're trying to do here. This might be a bit of refresher for some, but it's an important foundation that will anchor what I talk about next. So this is the kind of situation that we're solving for. I don't need to remind you or tell you how awesome, how great and useful mobile phones and tablets can be in our everyday lives. There are great use cases for them. But Google's also been looking into ways to use technology so that we can actually be just a bit more connected to the world around us, even while being more connected virtually to those people who are not with us. And it's Android Wear that aims to complete that picture by giving you useful information at a glance, but letting you stay in the moment when it's appropriate. And this becomes clearer if we break this down in a bit more of a visual manner, right? This might be a day with your phone. Notice the length of time it can take to get your phone out, unlock it, navigate to where you need to go, and engage with it. And there are certainly times when it's great to get lost in your phone, right? Maybe you're on a commute or waiting in line. But there's also a hefty time and attention cost if all you really wanted to do was just check some bit of information or feel slightly connected when you're out with friends. Now, if we look at the same set of interactions on a wearable device, then we can see that there's a reduced overhead per interaction. We can actually help you be more physically present in the world around you, even while being more connected to the virtual one. And what this means for developing user experiences on these watches is that we just have to think a little bit differently about what we build, because it's a fundamentally different interaction model. And you can tell just by looking at some of the watches, they're fundamentally different than other mobile devices. So we have to rethink it a bit when considering which features of your service or your app you want to bring to the wrist. It's really about thinking, what couldn't we do on the mobile app before that we can now extend, that we can now make possible on the wrist? For example, Google Fit has a great mobile app that helps you keep track of your fitness goals throughout the day, the week, or even the month. But the watch doesn't need all that information. It is positioned in a way that it can give you experiences that the mobile app can't, like to track repetitions as you do things like push-ups or squats, things that weren't possible before, but a natural extension of the app that existed on the phone. So with Android Wear watches, you can bring things to the watch that you haven't been able to do with the phone before, more meaningful experiences. And our philosophy for how to design for Android Wear apps is all anchored and inspired by something that we've done with watches for a long time, right? Telling the time. It's a simple action. You glance at your wrist, you get the information you need, and you make a decision in fractions of a second. It's glanceable, it's actionable, and it's effortless. And these create the cornerstone for how we think about designing for Android Wear apps and how we have extended our platform support to enable you to do the same. Since day one, we've made it so that apps can provide glanceable, actionable, and effortless experiences on the watch with notification bridging. If your apps send notifications, they will automatically synchronize with Android Wear. If you use media APIs, you'll get that for free. But it's the Android Wear experiences that go beyond the notification layer to deliver something more uniquely wearable that actually are more successful. So that ever since we launched with notification support, we've been extending the platform, growing it so that we can give you more opportunities to create those great, meaningful, wearable experiences. You have the ability to leverage sensors from heart rate monitors to accelerometers, haptic motors, and microphones. We enabled Wi-Fi support in May and introduced wearable-friendly interaction methods like emoji recognition and wrist gestures. And we've continued to grow our watch portfolio so that there will always be a watch that fits your users and their unique needs. So when you build for Android Wear, you know that the opportunities to create meaningful experiences will only get better over time. And there's actually two recent features that I want to call out as providing you with the means to create the right wearable experience for your app or service's unique use case. First, with Android Wear watches, you have the ability to create always-on app experiences. And you can now marry aesthetics with utility, with interactive watch faces. As a designer, I'm really inspired by these ones, excited by them, because these give you the options you need to cover a whole slew of use cases that you might run into. Now, Android Wear watches are unique in their ability to have screens on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without user interaction required. And we can do all of this while also saving on battery. Never before in the history of computing have we had this opportunity to have so many always-on, always accessible screens, so we should be taking advantage of it. Now, we started by enabling always-on experiences with the watch face level. We figured that, hey, when people choose a watch face, it's a personal choice, it's a style choice. And so it should always be represented in some manner. The screen shouldn't just go black. So we made it so that the watch face would display in a low power ambient mode when the watch was not in use. And we quickly realized that there were great app activities that would benefit from this same kind of behavior. The watch didn't always have to go back to this low power state of the watch face. So we made that available for you. You can now create always-on app activities for ongoing sessions when that information is necessary. So let's look at a few examples of ways that you can use this. Shopping, a great example, right? I might create a shopping list while I'm at work, but when I get to the store, I want to put it on my wrist so that it's easily accessible and readable as I go through various aisles. Now, I can do things like check off vegetables when I get to that aisle, interact with it for a split second, but even as I'm busy going through the rest of the store, it will go into a low power, black and white state so that it's always visible for as long as I need it. Maps, navigation, that's another great use case. I might be exploring a new neighborhood. So I want to put maps directions on my wrist, but I don't want to constantly be looking at it. With this always-on capability, maps are always available to me while I need it without me needing to fiddle with the watch or tap on the watch face. It's just a glance away. And fitness as well. I do a lot of workouts, and I like having my workout stats available to me, but I don't need my watch to be constantly in an interactive full-color state. I can save on battery while still get the information I need, all while it's relevant to me. So these always-on app experiences are great because they don't require you to be interacting with the watch to get the information you need at the time you can. You can provide to your users the experiences that give them the information they need at any given moment. And it's great for session-based activities or ongoing sessions. Now, complementary to always-on experiences is that we are allowing you to build interactive watch faces for those times when you want information to be accessible, but that don't need to be tied to an ongoing app session. Since late 2014, you've been able to create your own watch faces, and maybe some of you have. They're a great way to provide that perpetual information at a glance without requiring people to open an app. Now, as watch faces evolved after we made this capability available to you all, we noticed people building rich complications, really informative watch faces, to the extent that people were tapping on them, expecting another layer of interaction. So we recognized that need and made that accessible to you. Now you can bubble up key actions into the watch face that are just a tap away. And we can see this if we look at a few examples, like this interactive watch face called Bits. It shows me, well, bits of information about my day so I can see my day at a glance. But anytime I want a deeper level of context, all I have to do is tap on one of those complications. I can see the next hour in the weather forecast, or exactly who I'm meeting with in the next 50 minutes, all without feeling like I've ever left the watch face. And in this example from the Moto 360 Sport, I can have my fitness stats ongoing, present on my watch face all day long in an ambient manner. But at any time, I can tap on one of these sections to get a deeper look at my steps count. Or I can go ahead and decide that it's time to start a workout. And I have that shortcut right from the watch face. So again, with always-on apps and with interactive watch faces, we're giving you the tools you need to provide the right experience to your users at the right time. And also great about building for Android Wear is that you can reach people no matter what their style taste or their fashion sense, right? We have a number of watches that we make available to consumers. So there's always going to be a device, a watch, that fits your users and their unique lifestyle needs. And we released new devices this fall and also announced 3 new ones last week. And when you build for Android Wear, you will also have the opportunity to have global reach. We have support in 42 countries and language pairs. And this is all on the platform that you're already familiar with. You can take 99% of your knowledge about building for Android and apply it to Android Wear. And in fact, today you can do more and learn more about how to build these experiences with some of the sessions that we have going on. We have some great sessions after lunch, talks specifically on how to build always-on experiences and interactive watch faces. Starting at 2, we have office hours, and we have code labs all day, so you can try Android Wear and talk to us, ask us questions. And if you need other resources, we have a community on Google+, as well as our developer website, where you can get articles, tutorials, and more. So I look forward to seeing what you build, and thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we have one more product to discuss with you today, and that's Android Auto. So I'd like to welcome Product Manager Daniel Holle to the stage.
Thank you, Timothy. Hi, I'm Daniel Holle. I'm Product Manager on Android Auto. And I want to show you today a little bit about how the future of apps could look like in the car. A couple years back, we looked at where Android is used the most. And we found that a lot of people are using Android in their cars while they're driving. Actually, 100 million Americans spend more than 1 hour a day in the car. Right? That's a lot of potential for a true digital experience in the car. Of course, many people use their trusted devices, their smartphones, bring them into the car and use them while driving. We talked to users, and they told us this is a really cumbersome experience, right? You have to focus on two different things. The phone layout is not really optimized for the car, and it's also actually really, really unsafe to do that while driving. Actually, 25% of the accidents in the US involve a smartphone. And this is really not how we experience, how we imagine a great experience in the car. So we felt we really needed to fix this. So we set out to build, with Android Auto, to build a safer and better user experience in the car. We wanted to have the product be focused around your phone. The phone is really the central piece of users' digital experience. We always have it with us, and it carries our very personal information on there. We designed the product so you can plug your phone into the car via USB cable, and it then takes over the big display that you have in your car. We also tie in touchscreen controls, rotary controllers, and steering wheel controls, so you can actually control your apps on the screen. The apps still run on the phone, and that's the beautiful thing about it, because we can update the product, and you can update your apps on the phone, just as we used to do through the Play Store. So there's no trip to the dealer required to update the in-car experience. You just update your apps, and they just work in the car as well. So we put a lot of work into this, and nearly a year ago, we launched Android Auto. And I have a little video that I want to share with you about the product we built.
Cars are integral to the way that people live their lives today. We use cars for taking our kids to school, we use our cars for commuting to work, but when we look at cars today, they're fundamentally disconnected vehicles.
People don't want to check their phones at the door when they get behind the wheel. So we partnered with auto manufacturers and technology partners to figure out the best way to bring Android into the car. Today we're announcing Android Auto, which extends the Android platform into the car. Android Auto combines the best of both worlds. You get the connected apps and services on your smartphone with the physical controls that were optimized for driving in your car. We had to go back to the drawing board and really take an experience that was designed for a smartphone and break it down to its bare essentials.
We focused it down to the features that the user really needs within the driving space. We've made Google Maps really easy to use for the car. We've got nice, easy to access touch targets and a simplified interface. The voice technology that we're using within the car is super conversational.
Your hands are on the wheel, your eyes are on the road.
Set a reminder to get gas on the way back to work. Pick up my dry cleaning. Remind me to get tickets on the way home.
Google brings you just the right information at just the right time. So when you set reminders while you're driving, your phone will remind you later on, even if you're outside the car. Android developers will soon be able to create entirely new experiences for the car.
We're really excited about this opportunity because for us, this is really very much at the beginning. And we're really going to go on a long journey with this.
Right, so this is actually a really amazing product. This will change the way we experience our time in the car. We showed this to a lot of OEMs, the car manufacturing industry, and they were really excited about it. Since we launched this, the Open Automotive Alliance has been growing, and we have nearly every manufacturer around the world now working with us to bring this to their car models and to users out there. So they gave us lots of backing for this product. In 2016, we will continue this great momentum in several ways. There will be more cars hitting the road. We have about 10 models out there right now, and there will be 40 more coming this year. This will really bring the reach to a lot of users. There's also more countries. We launched with a couple of countries, but this year we're really extending it to be a global reach of Android Auto. And there are more apps coming to Android Auto. Today we have more than 500 apps enabled for Android Auto. And this is actually the part that I'm most excited about. It's the app developer ecosystem that we can finally bring to the car. Before Android Auto, it was really cumbersome and hard for developers to build for cars. You had several different car operating systems, different models, different screen sizes, different input methods to your apps. And that made it really hard for developers to get reach across cars and across models and regions. So I'm glad that we solved this part for app developers, because today you actually have one platform, one single platform to develop for across car models and across countries. And this gives you the fundamental reach that you need for your apps in the car. And the good news is it's Android. So if you have an existing Android app, it's really simple to just enable that app for Android Auto and play in the car. So let me give you, in a nutshell, how this could work for you. We focused on the core driving use cases and have an SDK ready for media apps. So now apps like music, podcasts, audiobook players can be enabled in the car to extend the user experience on that display. And this is a great use case to stay entertained while you're driving in a safe way. The APIs that we have available can help to expose your content in a menu structure. You can use your customized playback controls, and you can adjust the UI to really communicate your brand still on this car screen. It is really, I have to say, it's a very special magic moment when you get in the car, you plug in your phone, and you see your personalized playlists on the big car screen, and you can just continue playing your music that you just heard before on your phone. The second SDK is the messaging SDK. This is geared towards messaging and chat apps to come to the Android Auto screen. Again, a very dominant use case because we all want to stay connected and communicate while we're on our commutes. This messaging SDK gives you the ability through those APIs to show notifications if an incoming message is there. It gives you the potential to play back that message that's being read out to you, and you can actually reply via speech to it. And it works really well. I use it on my commute with several different messengers, and it's a great experience to stay connected in the car. And again, we really make it safer through that. So you keep your hands on the steering wheel and your eyes on the road, and you can still chat back and forth. Just imagine how much we make our users' lives safer with implementing this SDK and bringing messaging to the car in a safe way. So I want to share a little bit about the road ahead. Of course, we don't stop here. We work fiercely to get into more use cases and to improve the existing SDKs in the product. The improvements that are on the way are, for example, for the media SDK to expose more content. We have safety regulations that we adhere to make it safe how to browse your content, and we're working on ways to expose more content, your full set of playlists, for the media SDK. We also bring innovative car OEM apps to Android Auto this year. Car manufacturers will have the opportunity to build their own apps and use cases for Android Auto. And we'll also launch more app categories in 2016 to the developer community. So with this platform, we really believe we can build a better and safer user experience for the car. And with the SDK to it, you can participate in this mission. So we'd really like to invite you to enable your Android Auto apps, your apps for Android Auto today, and join this mission to make our users' lives safer and a better experience in the car. Thank you very much. Timothy?
Thank you, Daniel. So I hope you all got your toolboxes yesterday, most of you, okay. We noticed that there was a little extra room in them, so we thought we'd give you something else that was discussed today to build for those, and that will be both a Chromecast and a Chromecast audio. So you'll be able to pick these up at the afternoon break later in the day. And thank you very much for having a really great day one at the Ubiquity Dev Summit. And let's make it a great day two, learning together how to build beyond the Internet of Things. Thank you.
Thank you.